You ever get that feeling like when you're going through, Dr. Nielsen's UX roundup and it's just bam, information overload?
Totally. It's like drinking from a fire hose sometimes.
This week was definitely one of those weeks for me. So much to unpack. But that's what we're here for, right? To help you navigate the world of UX and AI.
Absolutely.
Ready for a deep dive?
Let's do it.
All right, so this week we're talking about a few things. Debunking some common UX metrics. We're going to think about whether AI could actually make traditional UI design a thing of the past. And we've got a pretty interesting cautionary tale about what happens when you rely too heavily on the wrong metrics.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting, especially in this week's roundup, is how it emphasizes the need to really understand the data you're looking at. Not just seeing the numbers, but actually getting what they mean.
Right, like looking beyond the surface.
Exactly. So let's start with something I'm sure everyone's familiar with. The Net Promoter Score, or NPS, that how likely are you to recommend? Survey that's everywhere.
Oh, yeah, it seems like every company under the sun uses NPS these days.
It's super common, but how useful is it really? Well, Measuring You did some fascinating research on this and found a surprising gap between what people say they'll recommend and what they actually do.
Oh, really? So people aren't always totally honest in those surveys?
It's more nuanced than that. For example, they found that while a good amount of promoters, those giving a 9 or 10, did recommend the product later, a surprising number of detractors actually recommended it too. Something like 18%, which is wild.
Wait, hold on. So almost 1 in 5 people who basically gave the product a failing grade still recommended it to someone else?
Correct.
That seems counterintuitive.
Right. It highlights just how complex human behavior can be. NPS can be a useful indicator of overall satisfaction, but it's not a foolproof predictor of what someone will do. And that's where we can fall into the trap of what's called watermelon metrics.
Okay, watermelon metrics. You've piqued my curiosity. What's the deal with watermelons?
Think about it. What's a watermelon like? Green on the outside, right? Looks promising, all juicy and sweet.
Yeah, until you cut it open.
Exactly. Sometimes you open it up and, well, it's a letdown. Not ripe, dry, just not good. Ron Kohavi using this analogy to describe metrics that look great on paper but actually mask underlying problems.
So it's not that the metric itself is bad, but how it's interpreted and used that can be misleading. Like you can have a really impressive NPS score, but if it's not translating to actual recommendations or reflecting the true user experience, then it's not really telling the whole story.
Exactly. It's about looking beyond the surface level. Like one example Kohavi talks about is using lines of code written as a metric for programmer productivity.
Okay, I can see how that would seem to make sense on the surface. More code equals more work, right?
Right. But what happens when programmers know that's how they're being evaluated? It can incentivize them to write unnecessary code or duplicate things just to boost those numbers.
So they might hit an impressive line count, but the code itself could be bloated and inefficient, a real nightmare to work with.
Exactly. It's that watermelon all over again. Looks good on the outside, but underneath, not so much. And just like you don't want to end up with a bad watermelon, you don't want to be stuck with a code base that's been optimized for the wrong metrics.
And it's not just about code, right? This applies to so many things. If you're only focused on gaming the system to achieve a certain metric, you might be missing the bigger picture and ultimately hurting the user experience in the process.
100%. It's about finding a balance, using metrics as a tool for understanding, not just a target to hit at any cost.
So we've been talking about metrics, and I think it's a good time to bring it back to AI, especially this whole idea of a UI-less future. Where AI agents are doing everything for us behind the scenes. Could AI actually make UI design as we know it obsolete?
It's definitely a thought-provoking idea. And it makes you think about the future of design, that's for sure.
No more screens, just AI doing its thing. It's kind of wild to think about.
While it's true that AI could automate a lot of what we handle through traditional interfaces right now, we can't forget that not everyone is ready to just hand everything over to algorithms. Even Dr. Nielsen, and he's usually ahead of the curve on these things, thinks there'll still be a need for UIs, especially when people want to actually directly interact with a company or service.
Yeah, that makes sense. As much as I love the idea of AI taking care of all the boring stuff, sometimes I want to be hands-on, especially when it's something where you want that personal touch.
Exactly. So maybe it's not so much about UIs disappearing completely, but more about how we approach UI design changing in a pretty fundamental way.
Right, like adapting to this new world where AI is a bigger player.
Absolutely. Think about it. As AI agents become more and more sophisticated, how they interact with systems becomes just as important as how humans do, maybe even more important.
So it's not just about designing for humans anymore, it's about designing for AI too.
Exactly. We're designing for both human users and these AI users.
That's fascinating. So how do we design for this kind of hybrid ecosystem where we need something that works for humans who might still want that visual interface and AI agents that rely on data and APIs? APIs aren't really my thing, to be honest.
It's a challenge, no doubt, but it's also a huge opportunity. Remember that semantic web idea from a while back?
Vaguely. Remind me.
The idea was to make web data machine-readable, so machines could understand and process information better. Sounded good in theory, but it never really took off.
Why not? What happened?
One reason was that it lacked a driving force. There wasn't a critical mass of users or agents that needed data to be machine-readable.
So are you saying AI agents could be that missing piece? Like they could be the thing that finally makes the semantic web a reality?
It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Because now with AI, we're not just talking about making static data machine-readable. We're talking about dynamic, interactive systems where AI agents need to talk to each other in real time, constantly. This creates a much stronger push to use technologies like APIs because they provide that common language for machines.
Okay, so instead of waiting for the world to become machine readable, we're building AI agents that are pushing us in that direction because they need it to work.
Precisely. And that's why APIs are so important in this new landscape. They're like the key to unlocking that deeper understanding between machines so they can actually communicate and collaborate effectively.
It's like if you have a group of people from different countries, they need a shared language to understand each other, right?
Exactly. APIs are like that shared language for AI agents. It allows them to understand each other, share information, work together.
I like that analogy. So it seems like it's not really about UI versus no UI. It's more about creating a system that's flexible, where both UIs and APIs are important. It's almost like we're entering this new phase where AI isn't just a tool, it's more like a collaborator.
Right. It's helping us shape the digital world.
Yeah.
And speaking of shaping the world, maybe we should talk about the potential impact of AI on the economy.
We were just talking about this shift in design with UIs and APIs, and it makes you think about how fast this is all happening, you know?
Yeah.
Like how quickly will AI really start to change things on a bigger scale?
Yeah, for sure.
That JP Morgan report, for example, they said that AI is going to impact the economy much faster than other big tech revolutions, and that's a pretty big statement, right?
It is, and it really shows how different AI is, I think, compared to anything else we've seen.
It's true. Usually these things take decades, like for companies to really adopt new technologies.
Right, exactly.
So why is AI different? What makes it so much faster than, say, the internet or even personal computers?
Well, it's the speed of AI's own development that's really driving how quickly it's being adopted.
Yeah.
It's like, think of current AI, like GPT-4, as a really smart high schooler.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Lots of potential,
Yeah.
but still learning, right? But then by 2025, we're probably going to be interacting with AI that's more like an entry-level professional, like someone with a bachelor's degree.
Wow, so it's like AI is going through school at warp speed. And then what?
And then by 2028, we could be looking at PhD-level AI.
PhD level AI by 2028. That's incredible. I know AI is advancing quickly, but that just seems so soon.
It does. It feels fast, but I think that's exactly why its impact is going to be felt much sooner. We're talking about exponential growth here. Even these small advancements now can lead to huge changes down the line. So even if we don't hit, peak AI productivity until 2030, like that JP Morgan report suggests, the changes we see in the next few years are still going to be huge. It's a really exciting time to be thinking about all this, for sure.
It really is. It's almost like trying to predict the weather 50 years from now, you know?
Yeah.
Like there are just so many unknowns.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if there's one thing I'm taking away from everything we've talked about today, it's that with AI, it's not like we're just passengers along for the ride.
That's a good way to put it.
We actually have a say in how it develops, which is both exciting and a bit daunting at the same time, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. And that's what's important to remember. AI isn't this inevitable force that's just going to happen to us. We can shape it. We can direct it. Like if current AI is like an eager intern, lots of potential, but still learning, imagine working with that PhD level AI in a few years.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it like that. The possibilities are endless.
Exactly.
And on that note, I think that's a great place to wrap up this week's deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deeper into the topics that fascinate you.